Well, after the 2024 elections, South African politics have become very much unpredictable. Every political party that we know of before 2024, except, of course, the MK party, which came just in 2024, almost every party that we know, the EFF, the ANC, and all the others, they actually lost to the point that it has become so much unpredictable as to who and which party is going to gain what in every elections that we're going to have. Even political parties like the EFF that were very much sure about themselves, knowing that they would continue to win votes in every elections, they lost. And now the EFF is also turning, making a U-turn on what was its sole policy of immigration, of open borders, allowing everybody to come into South Africa. Now, the EFF is even telling the people of Zimbabwe to go back and look for work in Zimbabwe because South Africans have to be prioritized in South Africa. The ANC, well, they don't seem to have much of a problem with losing because they know exactly why they're losing. That's because they are the government of the day and they've been in the last 30 years and they've lost the confidence of South Africans because they've actually destroyed the country. And every other party is questioning what is next? What's going to happen to me? Am I still going to be on the ballot coming the next elections? Because everything is unpredictable. The politics in South Africa have become very much unpredictable. Well, everyone is a loser in the political spectrum in South Africa, but there's one party that doesn't seem to be losing, but seems to be gradually growing. And that party is the Democratic Alliance. You see, the Democratic Alliance, in all this turmoil that's going on and everybody losing and every political party going down instead of up, the Democratic Alliance is steadily growing. And that is something that is boggling a lot of political parties. Well, we're going to talk about that and figure out exactly what is the modus operandi of the Democratic Alliance that's getting them to win while everybody else is losing. Well, the Democratic Alliance today is in the GNU. When people thought the Democratic Alliance was not going to go into a coalition with the ANC after the 2024 elections, that's because they said so themselves that they would not go into a coalition with the ANC. They even formed the Moon Pack Short grouping that was actually going to put together their votes and form a government after the ANC falls, because it was predicted that the ANC was not going to win this time. The Democratic Alliance said that we're not going to go into a coalition with the ANC because the ANC is corrupt and we can't work with them. But after the elections, the Democratic Alliance was seen not very much reluctant to go into a coalition with the ANC. When the ANC went around shopping for people to form government with, the Democratic Alliance was there available to comply. And so many people were wondering, why is it that the Democratic Alliance, the arch enemy of the ANC, could form government with the ANC? But that is because the Democratic Alliance had a strategy, and that strategy is still working for them to this day. Well, so far, the only party that seems to be making progress or seem to be making progress in the GNU is the Democratic Alliance. All the other parties, about 9 of them, except for the Democratic Alliance, because there's 10 parties in that coalition, all of them seem to be losing their hold on the South African voter. But the Democratic Alliance seems to be gaining. Well, the ANC, we don't speak about them. They've got scandals every single day. It doesn't seem like they are able to hold themselves together. And the other political parties like Patriotic Alliance and the Inkatha Freedom parties, they have just gone quiet in there. Well, except for Gayton McKenzie, every now and then he comes up and says something, but the scandal of Kenny Kunene seems to be sinking the Patriotic Alliance, even though Kenny Kunene resigned and is no longer part of anything significant in the political party. However, people are beginning to look at the Patriotic Alliance in a different light and questioning the things that Gayton McKenzie does and who he might be affiliated with, along with Kenny Kunene. The Inkatha Freedom Party, well, it doesn't seem like it's even there. I don't remember the last time I heard from the Inkatha Freedom Party. I don't know what their focus is, but they seem to be sinking into the quietude of the government of national unity, with, of course, the ANC sinking all together. But the Democratic Alliance, on the other hand, it seems South Africans are beginning to look at them in a different way, and that is exactly why the Democratic Alliance got into the GNU in the first place. You see, the Democratic Alliance, their strategy is totally different from the strategy of, say, the EFF. The EFF is mostly concerned about short-term goals, whereas the Democratic Alliance is kind of like concerned about the long-term goal. Looking at parties like the EFF and the MK party coming into the fray of politics in South Africa after 2024, these two parties, let's say the MK party, seems to have taken a lot of policies from the EFF. Things like nationalizing everything, well, the banks, the mines, the farms, everything. They can even nationalize your house or your car. So it's the politics of nationalizing everything. They say they are communist to their heart and they would like to see communism go forward. And their politics seem to be very much populist, to the point that the EFF leader goes to a stadium and sings "Kill the Boer." And that's because he thinks that is something that is popular in South Africa, preying on the divisions of South Africans. He sees that if he divides South Africans and say, well, the white man is the enemy, not the ANC, not bad governance, not the falling and crumbling economy. No, the white man, the Boer, is the enemy. And let's sing the genocide against him. That seems to be what the EFF sees as their success. Divide and rule. And those politics are not working very well for them because they are short-term policies. They are short-term gains that they can get for a little while as people jump up and down feeling the adrenaline. However, when people go to the voting stations, they don't go there with the adrenaline of the rallies where they were singing "Kill the Boer." So the Democratic Alliance doesn't play those short-term goals. They play the long-term goal. Let's look at the policies of the Democratic Alliance. It's non-racialism, intolerance to corruption, and getting the best people into government. Well, are they going to nationalize anything? It doesn't look like that. The Democratic Alliance will not nationalize anything. It is not their policies to nationalize anything. They say that they want to build the economy by empowering the private sector. Of course, that's how you build the economy in a capitalist country all over the world. So the policies of the Democratic Alliance and those of the EFF and the MK party are totally different. However, the strategy of the Democratic Alliance now that they are in government is actually to lead by example. They knew very well that South Africans are not used to them, and the politics of race play a very big role in South Africa since 1994. South Africans have been looking to have a black leader, hoping that something good would come out of it, coming from the apartheid years. However, the Democratic Alliance are very much aware of that, and they are looking to rather prove themselves to South Africans rather than just sing to them or speak political rhetoric. So when they allowed themselves or accepted the invite by the ANC to get into the GNU, they had a strategy. And their strategy was that we're going to get in there and work very hard, and we are not going to be corrupt. We're going to be a total opposite of the ANC. And of course, when you look at the ministers of the Democratic Alliance, every one of them is performing. Whether we are speaking about the Minister of Home Affairs, or we're speaking about the Minister of Communication, or the Minister of Agriculture, that is Steenhuisen for the Democratic Alliance, all of them, they seem to be doing sterling work. And there's no corruption in the departments that they lead, at least so far. Whereas on the other side, for the ANC, it is corruption Christmas and everybody is trying to steal something, at least as they are in government in the next 5 years until 2029. But the Democratic Alliance, they want to prove themselves to South Africans, and they're doing a very good job at that. South Africans are gradually beginning to warm up to the Democratic Alliance. They're starting to see what the people of Cape Town have been seeing, the Democratic Alliance leading steadily and creating a government and a province that actually functions, where there are no potholes on the roads, where the money of the people actually goes to do the work that helps the people and deliver services. Well, some people have been saying, well, the Democratic Alliance cannot say that they are the greatest government in the Western Cape when they're not fixing informal settlements like Khayelitsha, Langa, and the others. But that's the thing about informal settlements. They are informal and they are illegal. If you have an informal settlement where people went and built their own structures without getting the right documentation of ownership of land, there's no government that can develop that informal settlement. The government cannot go and build RDP houses. They cannot put any legal structures in that informal settlement. Everything that the government puts there would be illegal. So it's very difficult for the Democratic Alliance in the Western Cape to fix the Khayelitsha and the Langa townships, the same way it is in Johannesburg to fix informal settlements like Alexander and the Deep Salute. Those places would never be fixed unless the land is bought or taken from whoever it is that it belongs to, and then it's formally developed. But most of the illegal settlements are put in land that's not supposed to have housing infrastructure. Like in Alexander, that land was not meant for people to live on it because it's got sewage pipelines under it and a lot of things that make it not habitable for residential purposes. So the Democratic Alliance, we can say anything that we can say about them. They're doing a very good job in the Western Cape, where it is legal to govern, where it is legal for them to build structures and to deliver services, which is a requirement of the Constitution. So as far as illegal settlements are concerned, there's very little that they can do there. So that government of the Western Cape, we're starting to see it in the central government where the DA is concerned. In the GNU, their leaders are doing sterling work. And that delivery of the Democratic Alliance in the GNU has made the Democratic Alliance to be seen as the one party that's promising to lead South Africa for the future. And that tells us that the Democratic Alliance will continue to grow. Come 2026 elections, that is municipality elections, the one party that stands to gain is the Democratic Alliance. It's not the ANC, it's not the EFF, it's not the MK Party. Well, the MK Party, on the one hand, is kind of like a temporary party. Pardon me, those people who follow the MK Party, but I'm just analyzing the facts here. The MK Party is based on Jacob Zuma. And what is the policy of Jacob Zuma? When Jacob Zuma created the MK Party, he said he's creating it because he no longer has power in the ANC. So he created it so that he can take some votes from the ANC and the ANC leadership would be able to listen to him. And that's exactly what he did. When he won the 15% after the 2024 elections, he dictated to the ANC what they had to do in order for them to be in government with the MK Party. And he said they need to fire every leader in the ANC in order for the MK Party to be in a coalition with the ANC. But the ANC refused, and that's why the MK Party is nowhere in government, not even in the KwaZulu-Natal province where they won 45% of the vote. So the MK Party is a Jacob Zuma personal project. And Jacob Zuma is very old. And we have said this so many times. Jacob Zuma, once he's gone, who do you project would lead that political party to stardom? They have tried to bring the EFF leader, that is Floyd Shivambu, into the MK party, and he was booted, probably because he didn't go along with Jacob Zuma's requirement, and then he was booted. So the political party remains solely about Jacob Zuma. So when Zuma can no longer run the party, it would dissipate. And that is projected by 2029. I don't think Jacob Zuma will be going around the country singing Chiniwabi and calling people to vote for the MK party. So the MK party is not the party that will be doing very well in the future. But the Democratic Alliance seems to be steady going forward. And when you look at its future, it seems it has got a very good future. And that is because at this point where we are, after 30 years of the ANC, South Africans are not looking for a white leader. They're not looking for a black leader. They're not looking for a colored leader. They're not looking for an Indian leader, Chinese leader, or whatever. They're looking for a leader. After 30 years of ANC destruction, South Africans are hard for with politics of race. They want leadership. They want somebody who's going to deliver on the economy. They want somebody who's going to ensure that South Africans are employed. The 40% unemployment, they want it done away with. They want somebody who's going to lead them without corruption, who's going to deal with the corruption in this country, who's going to remove the criminals off our streets and make South Africa a successful country. That's what they want. They're not looking for a race. They're not looking for a skin color, because the politics of skin color have failed them with the ANC. So the Democratic Alliance is certain to do very well, provided they continue to deliver and continue to not have corruption and to lead from the front and to put capable people in positions of power. If they continue to do that, definitely they will continue to win. And every other political party, when you project them in the future, it seems they're not going to do very well. I don't see the EFF gaining its 10% back and even grow further. The ANC, it's given that they're not coming back. And the MK party, the growth is only temporary. So if the Democratic Alliance continue to lead the way they are doing and to be the opposite of the ANC and ensure that their ministers in the GNU continue to deliver, we will see the Democratic Alliance grow. Of course, they're not going to grow in bigger margins, like get 15% in the next elections or something like that, but they will grow by 2%, 3%, 1%, and something like that. But the one thing that is certain is that they will grow steadily, and there might be the one political party in the future that will be the major party in South Africa. Well, this will be the end of this segment, and if you made it to this point, thank you very much. Please remember to like and subscribe.